What we're going to do now is we're going to be given a ratio and we're going to try to find the angles. But it's going to be angles in all four quadrants, and so we're going to be using that cast rule that we have. So as a quick warm-up, we need to find the exact values of all the following. So if you want, you could pause the video and try it yourself. But it's going to be a half, minus a half, and this is going to be 1 over root 2 minus 1 over root 2 minus 1 over root 2 and 1 over root 2. Okay, and we're going to be using this. So let's say we know that theta, I probably shouldn't use that color. We know that the sine of theta is a half. Okay, so if the sine of theta is a half, that means that what is our theta? And so our theta could be, well, 30 is a half or 150 is a half. So there's two possible answers, right? What's going to happen is there's going to be two possible answers. It's going to be either 30 degrees or it's going to be 150 degrees. No, I pointed to the wrong thing. The theta is going to be 30 degrees or the theta is going to be 150 degrees. Similarly, if I said that the sine of theta was negative a half, well, then sine is going to be 210 or sine is going to be 330. So in this case, the answers would be 210 or 330. Now also, let's say we said cos theta is 1 over root 2. And it's kind of the same idea. So if it's 1 over root 2, then, well, it's going to be one of these guys, so it's going to be 45 or 315. And if cos of theta was negative, then it would be the other two options. It would, these two options. 135 or 225 degrees. Okay, that was very exciting. Next thing we're going to look at, we're going to figure out what the sine of all these angles is. So what we know is we know that the sine of 30 is a half, and the sine of 50 is a half, and the sine of 390 is a half, and the sine of 510 is a half. And so if the question was sine of theta equals a half, well, it could be any of these answers. It could be 30 or 150 or 390 or 510. And in fact, there's many, many others. What you may notice is that these two answers are coterminal. So sine 30 is the same thing as the sine of 390 because it has the same position on the coordinate, which would have the same position 360 later at 750. So it turns out, right, 750 would also be an answer. Or we could go in negatives. We could go back 360. And so there's lots of potential answers. But there's also these over there. So what we have is, so just putting all that together, what we see is that if I have let's say I have sine of theta equals a half. So what I need to do is I'm going to start off by figuring out which quadrants the answer is in. So the answer is going to be in, so we could do kind of a cast roll thing. So the sign is positive, which means that the answer is in the first quadrant or the second quadrant. Then I'm going to actually, using the special triangles, figure out what it is. So from the special triangles, I know that the angle is going to be, and the angle that's going to be is going to be 30 degrees. But we have an answer in the first quadrant or the second quadrant. And what we do, what that's done is that's given us the related acute angle for each of these things. And so we know that the related acute of this is going to be 30, and the related acute of our other one is also going to be 30. In this case, the angle will be 30 degrees. In this case, the angle will be 180 minus the related acute. So the answer in the second quadrant is going to be 150. Also, with every one of these answers, we're going to have multiple coterminal answers. So for example, it's also going to be 390 degrees. It's also going to be minus 330 degrees. This one's going to be 150 plus 360. It's also 510 degrees. This one's also going to be 870 degrees. And you can keep on adding or subtracting intervals of 360 as you see fit.